Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. My name is Ahmad Fadli. I am now I'm not be alone. I will accompany with my friends Amel. So we will giving some presentation about Metropolis literature and representation of imperialism and colonialism. In this kelompok, there is Ahmad Fadli and Amelia Mulyani. Okay, next slide, please. Three women text and critic of imperialism, theory of Gayatri Chakravorty Spivak. First, describe concept of worldling. 2. Describe context of Metropolis literature. 3. How can be three women novels as part of Metropolis literature become the imperialist colonial text. 4. Describe the critical practice used by Spivak in deconstructing the mission of imperialism colonialism in 3 novels. 5. What is linkage between the post-colonialism and colonialism? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, first, describe the concept of worldling. Actually, worldling is the first concept introduced by Spivak in one of his essays, The Rani or Simur. In this essay, Spivak described the type of representation of native Indian colonialism in easy describe, where a British captain officer traveling with his servants across India. In the process of making the journey, they map, describe, write down various things about their travel experience. According to Spivak, his power to travel and record it reinforces the narrative who accompany him into the decolonialism space. Worldling itself as a representation of the in addition at higher level, namely in the education system, where the native not only learn from their own masters' land, but also begin to see themselves from the natives not only learn from their own masters' land, but also begin to see themselves from what they record from their master's representation. And this fact were remembered not only in the study of British literature, but in the study of the literature of European colonizing culture of the great age of imperialism. We would produce a narrative in literary story of the worldling of what is now called the Third World, to consider the Third World as distant cultures exploited but with a rich intact literary heritage waiting to be recovered, interpreted, and curricularized in English translation. Foster the emergence of the Third World as a signifier that allows us to forget that worldling in Nurrahman page 39, 9, and 37. Okay, next slide, please. The describe of the context of Metropolis literature. Metropolis literature, an industrial revolution that sends alienation, darkness, diversity, and orientation of the modernist individual. Metropolis literature, which is consolidated by Western ideology. This is due to the power and strength and dominance of the knowledge project and Western domination, so that the Metropolis literature takes standardized Western ideology. The next will explanation by Amelia Mulyani. So, Amelia, time is yours.
The next thing that we can find in this essay Spivak is about how can the three women's novel as part of Metropolis literature becomes the imperialist colonialist text. The three women's novels this is our Metropolis because the standardization of their aesthetic text is built very strongly with English standardization. Likewise, the three novels become and reflects colonialist imperialism because they use the view of imperialist ideology. In the history of women of the 18th and 19th centuries, show us how to define the historical movement of feminism in the West in terms of women access to individualism. Just as Spivak argues that women in imperialist societies are tasked with treating humanity and human beings through social reproduction and also through imperialist social mission. Here, we can see that the problem of imperialism and colonialism for the initiator in the text are not a problem of how sexual reproduction is, but a problem caused by the unnatural things about masculine and feminism, a social problem that cannot be explained by homogeneous between society and imperialism culture. The next material is about describe the criteria practice used by Spivak in deconstructing the mission of imperialism, colonialism in the three novel. Spivak is trying to uncover an incompetence. There is a thing that is never allowed to by the standard text of the Metropolis. So the post-colonialism, while colonialism is to try to retest all kind of Western knowledge by deconstructing. This work are James R. by Charlotte Bronte, What Sargassy by Jane Rees, and Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. In James R. by Charlotte Bronte, Spivak saw a self-moderating expression to develop the idea. He refers to a passage from Roberto Fernandez de Taman Caliban. In triangular relationship, Caliban is constructed as an uncivilized original other. Ariel is the original other intellectual, and Prospero is the partia and colonizer. Marginalization and privatization of the heroine Jane's progress from an opposing family others to a family self reflects and reproduces the active ideology of imperialism, part of the family community. With Rochester and his children at the center, the project of making the soul beyond that is merely sexual production. Spivak argues that this process is imperialist because it is built from imperialist ideology. Why suggests Spivak he talked of the role that voice and text have In Helping and Hindering Individualization project, he suggested that a woman could not be self-inflicted without producing imperialist contraction. He said that no imperialist critical perspective could transform the other into oneself because the imperialist project has always historically habited what might happen to other interdomestic parties who fully convocate the self-imperialists. Frankenstein as an effort to demolish, Spivak sees the text not only as a feminist of woman individualism, because that is what is empty of the Western world. Spivak argues that Frankenstein is an attack on national feminism that does not speak the language of individualist feminists who rally in imperial axioms. She argues that imperialism is only incidental in Frankenstein, says that the novel is no battleground for male and female individualism articulated in terms of the sexual reproduction of the family and the production of female and social or racial and male subjects. Moreover, Spivak pointed out that the point of her confession about Frankenstein is to make a note of the fact that here neither the creature nor the woman Frankenstein fits into the Caliban or the schemes that govern the novel discussed earlier. She said that he plays in a named this woman who is a master live exposed. By the text, we can see that the function of women and other people are applied and intertwined in the discourse of imperialism. The last material is about what is a linkage between post-colonialism and feminism. Post-colonialism and feminism dialogue from a new interpretation. Namely, after the clone of feminist cultural theory, some post-colonial feminists believe that feminism focuses on world racial politics, but to ignore dual colonialism, but the racial and gender situation of women under imperialist conditions. The theory assumes that women in the world are the true victims of foreign ideology and imperialist practice, while post-colonial theory saw serious theoretical merit in regret for structuralism. It is used to refute the general basis of patriarchy and colonialism. It is only in the recent period that post-colonialism and feminism come closer and closer to contributing to the audience. In the eyes of the post-colonial critics, they are called women from the world of threats, women in the third world. Spivak also noted that the colonizers classified the indigenous population as third world. The colonizer as statistic represent the imperialist right, especially on this word female character. Awareness of the different setting implying the cultural hierarchy of Western feminism have the privilege of paving the way to liberalization, so therefore sister. So, with the connection between post-colonialism and feminism as a movement forward administration to move to women, it is clear to cancel the general concentration between men and women. That's all for me. Thank you very much.
So that is enough that can we deliver to you guys. The explanation that we can deliver to you guys. Thank you so much for watching this explanation and our kelompok discussion. Thank you so much for attention. Just it for our group. The next session will be in WhatsApp group. So thank you.